Hello and welcome to Media Immersion Live. How is everybody doing today? Let me get this off my screen. Bear with me a second. Where is that gone? Where is that on my screen and why can't I get rid of it? Let's fix all of this today. So, how's everybody doing today on a Tuesday? I just went back from spring break today. Sorry, forgot to turn on my light over here. Causes me all kinds of issues. Anyway, I hope everybody had a great spring break if it was last week or probably a few weeks before that. I know my sister went out a couple weeks before that. Wish everybody a happy break. I wanted to let everybody know a couple things that are going on. Our Comprehended conference is still going on. And I'm trying to find the link here. Bear with me a moment. Where the link is for, let me give you the link first of all, I guess, to the Comprehended conference. So you can get that at comprehended.co. We're still active until the end of May with that. And then, but you can still purchase up till the end of May, a 3, a 6, a 9, or a 12-month pass. It's great for, that summer PD. If you can't get away to one of the conferences, that's a great option for you to do. And the other one, we have a $7 webinar coming up. And where is it? I think this is it. Yes. Okay. So, yes, it's this Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific, or 8, 9, 10, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's $7 to register, and you can get it here. And it is all about assessments. So it's an hour webinar about assessments. You can read more about it at that link and register if you'd like. You can get all that information there, but it's basically, your proficiency-based types of assessments. So if that's something that you are interested in, you can check that out there. And I didn't put the link on the screen. Sorry, my traffic was a little bad, so I was rushing to get home and barely made it. So you can register there if that's something that's interesting to you. It's kind of an extension, we're talking about assessments today a little bit today, so we'll be talking a little bit more about that this weekend for that. So let's go ahead and get started with today. Let me give you a short intro, and then we'll be right back. See you soon. And welcome back. So today we're talking about writing and writing assessments and things like that. Worksheets just don't cut it. So we want to ditch those types of things. We want to ditch those drills. They just don't cut it when it comes to a proficiency-based assessment. So the first thing, and I've talked about this so many times before, I want to assess spontaneity, whether it be in listening, reading, speaking, or writing. I don't want memorization and I don't want rehearsal. Those are performance tasks, and life is not a performance task. So when we're talking about writing specifically, I want to make sure that our writing assessments are spontaneous and that we actually ditch that memorization and those rehearsed tasks. I hate those writing assessments like at the end of the term, like on a final exam or a midterm, where they have all this time to be able to write, edit, polish. That doesn't help me as a teacher, because if they're so good at erasing their mistakes, I may not see that they made a mistake at all. And if I don't know that they made a mistake, I can't help them fix it. 2, when they did fix that mistake, was it a, oops, I caught it right away type of thing, which means they're almost there? Or Was it something that that they had to read their paper 2, 3, 4 times before they found it? Both of those are very different situations, and as a teacher, I have to handle them differently. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to give them that kind of time. And so many of the writing assessments that we give rely on rehearsed, overly polished responses. Like, when they give that um, thing, tell me about yourself. Hello, my name is, I am so many years old. I live in such and such a place. Those are all rehearsed, polished, rote types of things. I instead want to focus on real time, natural language production so that I get a true picture of the proficiency. So I'm going to have them write about something without any pre planning, without any notice, so I can see where they're where they have issues, what they get right they've acquired, and what they haven't they still need to work on. And I see it in all of its glory, its messiness, and then I can focus on that and give them more input on those areas so that they can learn to acquire those particular structures or vocabulary. And one of the strategies that I use, and I absolutely love them, they are my absolute best indicator for written and reading proficiency, are timed quick writes. So I've been doing it the traditional way for nearly my entire career, where I set a timer for 10 minutes. The kids write for the entire 10 minutes. When the class average drops to 100 words, I'm sorry, when the class average goes up to 100 words during that time limit, I'm going to drop the time by 30 seconds. And the next week it'll be less. Doesn't mean they go down every week. And the goal is to get to 5 minutes at a 100-word average by the end of the year. And you can give students all different kinds of prompts. I give prompts like write about whatever you like. I give vocab prompts where I say, I want you to use these 3 vocab. I might give a structure type prompt where I tell them I want them to use a particular structure. For upper levels, it will be inferred. So for lower levels, I'm explicit. Write about your weekend and tell me in the past tense. In upper levels, I might say, what would you do if, which then is going to require the conditional tense. And I won't specify that's what I'm looking for, but that's for the upper levels. You can also give, a 1-word prompt or a simple scenario, like describe your weekend or tell me a story about a dog and a ball or whatever you want to do. The point is, with the time, they have no time to edit. So you get pure proficient language. You can see exactly where they're proficient and exactly where they're not. Another activity I like to do is what's called a chat chain writing, where students write one sentence at a time and they pass their paper, or they can use a shared doc to partner with a classmate who continues the response. And this encourages spontaneity while still assessing individual contributions. So there's a couple of ways I like to do this. So to train them how to do this, we'll do it as a class. So I will call randomly on a student. They give me a first sentence. I'll call randomly on a second student. They give me the next sentence, etc., etc., etc. Another way, we can put them in small groups where they're going to use a shared Google Doc and then each add a sentence, alternating sentence after sentence and rotating through the group. And then the third way I like to do it, and this is really, really fun to do it this way, is everybody has a piece of paper, and then we'll start, and everybody writes one sentence, or you might even give it a time, like you can write for 1 minute and stop when the timer goes off. And then everybody passes their paper either clockwise or counterclockwise. You give them a moment for the students to read what's already written, and then you give them another minute and they continue the story where it left off. And this way you get, how many stories you have students for. So if you have 30 kids, you're going to get 30 different stories, and the kids get practice in reading and writing, and it's really, really fun activity. It really, really is great. And then I'll put on the board to help them along maybe some transition words like and, because, therefore, since, those kinds of things, so that they can help make bigger sentences and link them. And it's really fun this way because it does, encourage that spontaneity, and we get some real creativity along the way. And then a third activity that I like to do, or strategy I like to do to get that spontaneity, is a silent write and speak, where students write for 2 minutes and then immediately explain or summarize their writing orally. This reveals those gaps in their ability to communicate thoughts in writing versus speech. Their writing ability is always going to be higher than their speaking ability. Their understanding is always going to be greater than both of those. They're going to understand way up here, they're going to write about here, and they're going to speak about here. So, but by doing this, you get to see and compare their writing versus their speech, which gives us a lot of great information. And I can see where the strengths and weaknesses are and focus on those so that my students get the real benefit of that. The next thing, let's focus on communication. So, we want to focus on real communication, not this fake stuff that the book always sets you up on. So we want to assess the message over the mechanics. So think about it. If you meet someone whose English is not their first language on that first, in some kind of real life experience, like at the grocery store, at the bank, or wherever, as long as you understood the message, we're not nitpicking over the mechanics. And it's the same thing with our students. Students tend to freeze up when they think their writing is just being graded for grammar. Instead, assess how effectively they communicate ideas, not just how correct they are. That's why my basic rubric is always, is it comprehensible first? And then I look at the complexity of the sentences that they're giving me. So, some strategies to get this communication going is comprehensibility scoring first. So instead of marking every mistake, use a 3-level scoring system: clear and effective, some clarifications needed, or difficult to understand. So you can just do that. You can do it with smiley faces. You could do it with 1, 2, 3, however you want to do that. But give feedback based on how well the message is conveyed rather than perfection. I loved my college German teacher. She was amazing. But one thing she did, which made all of us hesitant to speak, is she would correct us mid sentence. And so that took our confidence way down. And it's no different with your students. So by not nitpicking on all the small things and focusing on whether or not they communicated a message that you understood is much better. It allows them to learn from their mistakes and to grow, because if they don't try to speak or they don't try to write because they're so afraid of making mistakes, they're never going to be able to grow. Another strategy is email or text simulations. So have students write a real world message, an email to a teacher, a WhatsApp message to a friend, a restaurant review, a social media post. Any of those types of things will work. And this shifts the focus to practical, purposeful communication. One of the things I really like to do is when we're reading a novel, which we just started our first novels today. We're on a semester system, so my kids started level 1 in January. And so we're a little past the halfway mark. So we're starting our novel during this time. And what I like to have them sometimes do is to have them create a text message communication between two characters, or have one of the characters create a social media post. I don't have them do it digitally. I have like little templates that I make. So they do it on paper. They can put their illustration, they can put their little social media message in there, And it's real world communication, and we're taking it from what we're doing in class. And so it's purposeful communication. A third strategy is response to video tasks. So show a short, silent clip or an image and have students write a spontaneous reaction or explanation in 5 sentences. So I like to do this especially with speaking. I do it as a speaking quiz where I'll show them a funny picture and then they have to give me 3 to 5 sentences or speak for 30 seconds, whatever I decided to do for that activity, and describe what's going on in the picture or to make a story out of the picture or do something like that. But you can do the same thing with writing, and it can be a video or it can be an illustration. It doesn't matter. And this removes the crutch of memorized vocabulary because here they're using images which are going to jog things that they can say, and work with that because images will bring back vocabulary. I always tell my students that they cannot write or speak for that matter at the grade level that they currently are in. So 6th graders can't write at the 6th grade level, 9th graders can't write at the 9th grade level, seniors can't write at the senior level in their second language. So they have to give that up. They need to simplify what they want to say. Then they can say it. If they try to write at the level that they think they should, that's when they start to fall flat on their face, and that just does not work with that. And the last thing I want to talk about is keep it simple. We don't want to make it so complex. Think about yourself as well. Use quick, low prep writing assessments so that you can focus on a more balanced life. So you're not, grading writing samples for weeks on end before you can even give them back. And then you keep it simple so the kids don't get stressed. Because writing assessments don't have to be time consuming for students or for you. You can use fast, repeatable methods that still provide deep insights into their writing proficiency. So for my writing quizzes, I solely use my quick writes. We do quick writes every week, and then I will randomly pick one and grade it for comprehensibility and complexity. The other things we talked about, the emails, the social media posts, responses to video and pictures, those are occasional practice activities, but what I'm actually grading is going to be one of those quick writes. And it's up to you what you want to do, but that's what I like to do for my particular self. And I use those other activities just to give some variety. I might even use one of those activities as a launch board for a quick write. I might show a video or show a picture and tell them to write about those things. So some quick strategies to get you started to keeping it really simple. Micro writes, where students write 1 sentence responses to different prompts throughout a unit. For example, what would you do if? What's your opinion on? Collect several over time instead of one long writing piece. So as you're reading a text, as you're telling a story, as you're reading a novel, whatever you might be doing, ask a question and then have them write a 1 sentence response in their notebooks. And then the next time you come up to a question, they will continue and write it down. And you'll have a series of sentences that you can read to assess their writing ability. Exit ticket writing. So instead of a quiz, have students summarize the day's lesson in 2 sentences or answer a quick question in writing before leaving class. So I like to do this usually in speaking. I don't always do it in writing, but I will have them video record themselves using our learning management system. I used to use Flipgrid, but Flipgrid no longer exists, sadly. So I use my learning management system, or formative.com can also do this. And then I will have them say, tell me 3 things you learned today in Spanish, and they record that video wise. Or I'll give them a question like, do you prefer hot dogs or hamburgers and why? And then they will answer that. And it's a really quick way that I can get an assessment. You can have them do it written or you can have them do it oral. It's a really great way. I started this in COVID times when we were doing distance learning, and I liked it so much that I had my kids do it after that because I really get a sense of their speaking ability over time because they're doing one or two of these every week, and I get a really good sense of their speaking. You can also do peer swap reviews where students write short responses and swap with a partner who highlights the most understandable sentences and the least clear sentence. This helps reinforce that self-awareness and readability. So they're handing it to a student, they're going to highlight the most understandable sentence and the least understandable sentence so that the kids can learn from those experiences. So all of these types of things keeps the writing spontaneous and real and easy. And it aligns with the title while ensuring that your audience walks away with concrete, actionable strategies. So that's the whole point, that we want our students to be able to communicate in a real way. And we want it to be simple and easy and spontaneous. And so all of these things, these strategies can help you keep that spontaneity with your students, as well as make it simple for you to get some real effective assessment in and some real effective feedback for your students. And I really like to keep these simple. I'm famous for always getting especially my writing within 24 hours. It comes back. I make sure it happens, and I do that by keeping it simple. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat. Or if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them for you. Sorry about my shirt, my Billy La Bufanda shirt. There's a green. I have a green screen behind me, and it's erasing all the green in the shirt. So I apologize for that. I always forget to say it, so I'll do it right now before I forget. Please like and subscribe if you found this helpful. This was a quick and easy one for you guys. But writing is always, it's one of the big sticklers. The other one is speaking. It takes a lot of time for teachers. And I wanted to give you something concrete that you could really use to limit your time spending on this, because grading does not make for better language speakers. It's the input that does. And we want to spend more time on planning that input than on assessing the output. So with that, I wish you all a great week. Oh, before I forget, we have got on Thursday, where is that? Let me get my calendar up here. Thursday, we are going to be speaking with Gregory Schwab um, on our CI Stories interview. So we're going to talk to him about his CI journey. That is on the 24th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And the following week, we'll be talking with Tracy Collazos, same time, same channel. So we got two of them in a row. So please join us. Obviously, we'll record those too if you can't watch them live, but just want to give you a heads up. Remember, you can also join our Comprehended Conference for 2025, or you can do our Assessments Without Tears webinar this Saturday for just $7. Hope to see you in one of those places, or at least with our live CI Journey stories for Thursday. With that, I'll say goodbye to everybody, and I wish you all a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Until next time, have a goodbye.